Having only 1 out of 3 toilets working in a 4-person household is not an ideal state of things. So once the tiles were in, it was time to reinstate the second toilet. For this and all the other installations in this episode, I pretty much followed the manufacturer's instructions, which after the occasional bit of fiddling, always got me there in the end. I'm going to give the toilet a big flush now, so that I should be able to see if there is water leaking out. It's looking good. No leaks under there. I think I might call that mission successful. The logical next step was to install the flush plate, and I opted for a 1-button start-stop situation here, which I prefer over the 2-button Euroflush plates, simply because this looks a lot cleaner. Before ordering this particular piece of kit, I checked and double-checked and then rechecked again that this flush plate was compatible with the cistern or toilet tank. And once that was made sure of, it was very easy to install this. It took me like 15 minutes. The second highest item on the priority list of things to install was a shower. We haven't had a proper shower in this house pretty much since we moved in, so having this in and working now is a huge relief. We went with an IKEA shower simply because they have a great simple design that fits well with the rest of the bathroom. For the installation of the shower enclosure, once again meticulously followed the manufacturer's instructions. I don't remember if this was an instruction included in the leaflet, but it's a good idea to fill the holes that are drilled for the wall anchors with silicone before putting the screws in that fix the enclosure frame to the wall. This will prevent any water leaking from the shower into the wall construction behind the tiles. The plaster texture has gotten spells of approval. That means I'll go ahead and put more installations back in, which in this case means a radiator. The first thing is I've taken my machine screws out of those bolts in there. So what I'll do now, these are the sockets that are going to sit on the wall that then the radiator itself is going to plug into. So I'm going to install these guys first. It's probably best to have this slot here that then screws the radiator bits into the socket here, stick out to the side so I can reach it easier. So there, all 4 sockets in. Time to dig out my pipe connections. So I just put some yarn or cord around them to be able for me to dig them back out, and hopefully that and this screwdriver here will be enough to help me dig the pipes back out. So here's my radiator. That's my H block already built in. This cap comes off and we'll get the thermostat. And these are the open pipe connections. All in place. Let's get this fitted. Moment of truth. Okay, I can now align this slot here with the actual screw holes and those radiator studs themselves. So that's all aligned. This and that too. Right. I'm not turning that now. These are the screws that connect the two just normal cross-top flat heads. Alright, and that is that. After installing the thermostat, I filled the radiator with water to make bleeding the last bit of air out easier, and then put the end cap back on. Take a bit of the water there with a sponge before the end cap can go on. I think even hand tight should be enough because of this O-ring or a washer that's included in the end cap, but we can't have. So just I'll just wait a few more turns here. Don't want to overdo it and damage the rubber, but I reckon that should be nice and tight now. Right then, time to switch the heating back on, get my radiator key and bleed the air out. With the toilet, the shower and the radiator now installed, it really was time to put the sink back in this room. That's as tight as I dare make it. Yeah. Same on the other side. Some thread sealing cord. And I'm going against the thread because I noticed that if I followed the thread here and just wrapped the cord in the thread, then by screwing that in, you're screwing the cord back out. So better do it this way. And after all this glorious explanation, there is the inevitable moment of realization incoming in 3, 2, 1. Okay. Oh no. Such an idiot. Okay. And that's what happens when you don't pay attention. So back out with it. Also, another object lesson. This happens I do not reuse the same thread because it can't be trusted anymore putting it in a second time. So I'll remove all of this and then I'm just going to have to wrap it again. There we are. Nice and neat and tidy. Oh, just so that they don't start spouting when I turn the water back on. I'll just close these valves. They were all the way open. There. And that should do the trick. Well, the valves have enough space. It's almost I've taken measurements. The 45-degree knuckle connector there, though, that's not going to work very well. So I have to replace that with a 90-degree one that sticks right up, so that I can then feed the wastewater into there. Because right now the back of this drawer would be in the way, but it's fine. I can get that easy enough. I don't know if this matters, but I'll use clear silicone. Because if stuff does squeeze out, at least it's not going to be such a visible mess. By the way, the countertop here is solid walnut and I made it myself. I won't be showing it in this episode, but in the next and possibly last episode I'm going to show all the woodworking that went into this bathroom. 12 and 12, excellent. That's about centered, and we get square to the wall as I can make it. Now this tap that I got was probably meant to be a kitchen tap. That's what it's called. Glypen, not quite sure. But it was the only one that I liked to go in here. So that's the one I'm installing. Hot water, cold water. It's going to sit like so, and still going to have enough clearance for me to open the mirror cabinet. Alright then. Right, that's that tap fitted and tightened and all. So the last thing to do is to connect up the water pipes, and thankfully I've gone with what I knew from Germany and installed these here. They certainly weren't here before, because now with these things having rubber washers in there, all I need to do is tighten these there onto those. Okay, and now all there's left to do is to open these up. No leaks here, so those pipe connections are definitely solid. All the way open. Let's see then. Yay, success. Great. And as probably the most important feature, I've installed this in such a height that I can wash my hands like so without having to stoop down. If you're 6'6" or 2 meters like me, that's a great relief. So I guess as a quick illustration to what's happening, the pipe that's sticking out of the wall there has these dimensions. Right, so it has an external diameter of 43 and an internal one of 37. And this is supposed to be a 40mm pipe. 40mm pipe for UK understanding. This is supposed to be a 40mm waste pipe knuckle. Internal diameter 42. No, 43, 42. These are both supposed to be 40, both made in the UK, and they don't fit. I just plain love UK products. So what I could do now is I could go with this knuckle here, which of course is a glue-in. If I do this, I will no longer be able to take this out for whatever reason, do some maintenance or something like that, because that'll be welded to this pipe here. So I would have to cut it out, at which point this would no longer stick out and I would no longer be able to attach anything to that pipe. So I'd like to avoid it if possible. One way is to go with something like this. There's a thread on the outside here and it has a rubber gasket in there. So it should make a seal if I push it against that. Let's see. I can get this to go in there. Yeah, that's not sealing up at all. If this is watertight, then this solution may work. Of course it's like super bodge city, but this is the best it can get. I guess I better put the water on now, see if it leaks. That's not so good. No leaks. Right. Let's see if it closes now. Okay. I'll settle for that. And the next bit is to fit handles to the drawers. These came with a cabinet, but the wife doesn't approve of them because they don't really fit into the optics of the bathroom. And these are the ones I had left over from building wardrobes. So IKEA too, I think. The problem is that the screw holes have different distances from one another, so the pre-drilled holes in the drawers, they don't match up with this. So I have to take new measurements and screw them down. Job is fit this to the wall, and I think here is a good position for it. next up. Once again, draw a plumb line. I've already marked off the height that I need. Anyway, it doesn't need to be more stable than that, simply because that'll go in there and this will go on top. Now the last bit to fit is a toilet bowl holder. This piece here should be as simple enough as that. It has the same fixing as the toilet brush holder. And I'm thinking it should probably sit somewhere up here, sort of like flush with my countertop, and also on, right, symmetrically on a center line extended from that little bin there. So I'm just going to take a plumb pencil mark off the center of this, draw it up. That's about as plumb as it gets. I don't want to sit this above that line. Hole number 1 goes there. Hole number 2 about there. So, line that I don't want this to sit atop of. Hole number 1, hole number 2 for me to fix this thing to the wall, and then the toilet roll holder clips onto this. This is where I run out of footage of me installing the toilet roll holder. I do, however, have some video of me finishing up the corner joints with silicone, a task I'm not too fond of, seeing as this is part of tiling as well. Then there's the mundane task of removing sticker residue of the sink, or wash basin as IKEA calls it, and white spirit works wonders here. As a finishing touch, I cut the sound deadening mat that sits between the toilet and the wall to size or flush around the outline of the toilet, and then also run a bead of white silicone across the top. And we did it. The video has come full circle. There probably is no lovelier view to close a video out with than of a white porcelain throne. With it, I'll run the cost credits and fade to black.